Hello YouTube, Master Waffles here, bring you a game of Company of Heroes 2. That's right guys, Company of Heroes 2 is finally in open beta, which means you guys can finally play the game for free. It's open till June 18th with 6 maps, a ton of units, and... Let me see. Oh yeah, you can only play the online mode, which means you cannot play... Oh, whoops. You cannot play Theater of War or Campaign, but then again, you guys really do want to play the online mode, so come on, it's okay. Anyway. You'll also get the option of customizing your army, and you'll be able to rank up all the way to level 45, which means you'll be able to use all of the commanders at your disposal. But anyway, we're going to show you guys a little bit of a replay right now, but we have a little bit of a problem in which we don't have a lot of replays, so yeah, that's mostly due to the fact that I get my ass kicked a lot in this game, and also because I forget to click the save button for my replay. So yeah, I'm going to start the loading for the replay right now, and I'll see you guys back on the battlefield. Alright, so before we start up the game, let me just tell you who's who. Right now we have the yellow Germans being played by Thompson. We have me as the blue Germans. And we're just going to reveal the Fog of War. And as you can see, we're versing off against 102 Welsh Dragon, who is playing as the purple or pink Soviets, whichever you prefer. And Helduke playing as the red Soviets. So right now we're playing on a map called Pripyat. Pripyat is a map divided between 3 different modes of, well, transportation. We have this central bridge over here, which is indestructible. Whoever controls this bridge really controls the game, as this bridge links up with the second northern victory point over here. And this victory point can only be accessed through these 2 rivers over here, which is a problem as it does slow down and bog down vehicles and infantry units. So yes, indeed, that is a one very important bridge. Now we do have the destructible bridge over here, which can enable a opponent or an army to actually go around and flank the other armies, well, units I guess, and also try to actually steal some resources, like I guess from under the nose of their opponents. So it's a very good for kind of sneak attacks, flank attacks. All around good stuff. You can also prevent flank attacks or sneak attacks by just blowing up the bridge. So yeah, that's one thing. And then the last one, which is this shallow water, which will bog down infantry and vehicles. But the thing is that once your vehicles and infantry units do get across the river, they're able to have easy access to this territory point as well as the victory point over here. So the main objective for this game is to control the central bridge as well as the northern victory point over here, and the southern part is mainly for supporting your army with more munitions and fuel, though a lot of people will basically argue about that and say the southern part is more important, but I think of the latter. So anyway, my strategy really is to build an infantry de company in order to get some quick MGs, mortar teams going in order to secure the central bridge, while my allies do the same thing. My opponent, however, my opponents are doing 2 different things. One of them is doing the same strategy. He accidentally misclicked, I guess, because he just moved around his units. But anyway, the purple Soviet player, or the pink, whichever you prefer. I'll go with pink, actually. The pink Soviet player is actually building the support weapon building, which will allow him to get MGs and mortar teams as well. So he's going our plan, while his red partner over here is going for mass conscript spam, which will allow him to secure resources and territories early on. Now, I'm going for more of a tier 2 tech up. Right now, all I'm building from the tier 1 building of the infantry de company is the mortar team. Once I'm done with that, however, I'm just going to really focus on getting up to tier 2 and building a lot of panzer grenadiers, which are good at close to medium, actually, infantry range. Yep. And good at really taking out globs of infantry units with their submachine guns, and they're pretty potent against globs of infantry as well with their bandolier toss, which is I guess not a group of, but a bunch of grenades stacked on top of one another by tape or something, I'm not really sure, and thrown across a short distance, but could do a tremendous amount of damage. They also can be upgraded with Panzerschrecks, which are pretty potent against vehicles, so they're very good anti-tank, well, infantry units as well. So over here we have my ally sending forth an MG42 team in order to secure the bridge, and so far he's able to plop down, no problem, and he's going to kill a few of the enemy's units over here, but because of a Molotov cocktail, he has to retreat quickly, but it's not much of a problem as the MG Nest could just set up a shop right next door and plow down on these conscript squad units. So right now I have my mortar team sent out in order to combat any globs of infantry that come in our way, and so far we have the pink Soviets actually sending forth a Maxim machine gun, which will allow him to secure the left portion of the bridge. Now, I'm actually moving out my Pioneer squads. Right now, Pioneer squads are the weakest infantry units in the game. People will argue with me as to what is actually the weakest. That's just my opinion, actually. Like, in my... Oh, fucking police car. In my honest opinion, Pioneer squads are the weakest units, but there's debate as to what really is the weakest. Maybe it could be, you know, conscript squads, or maybe it could be... I guess the combat engineer squads by the Soviets, but whatever, you never know. Anyway, so the Soviet player has popped down his own mortar team, which will allow him to secure this bridge with with a lot of ease, to be honest. His MG team can just destroy any infantry that comes in his way, and the mortar team can just destroy infantry from afar. So my mortar team is trying to get some hits on this mortar team over here and the MG Nest, but so far it's not doing well, to be honest. My ally over here, he's brought up his MG team over here to try and secure this area, as well as upgraded his grenadiers with the MG upgrade so that he can get an MG gun to support his team, his unit. So right now he got a good amount of damage on that mortar team. It's not bad, but it's not terrible either. And he had to evacuate because that conscript squad was about to fire, throw a Molotov cocktail at his units. So, as you guys have seen beforehand, Molotov cocktails are pretty nasty, so you don't want to get caught in them. Right now, we see my two engineer squads being attacked by a conscript squad, and unfortunately for my poor Micro, my engineer squad has to retreat back with the amount of health he has left. But because my opponent's conscript squad is suspended, or, well, actually suppressed, he can't move really, and because he can't move, that will give my Pioneer squad free range to actually put some hurt on him. Right over here, my ally tries to do the same tactic again and flank around and kill some of our opponent's units. A little bit of ragdoll effects going on there. Apparently, gravity didn't exist back in the World War II days. So anyway, I don't know why my opponent actually retreated back, but I guess it's because he saw the MG Nest coming forward. So yeah, while this was all happening, my mortar team was able to do a good amount of damage on the mortar of the pink Soviets over here, and actually completely routed in a second, as you can see right over here. But it's still very possible for my opponent to actually take back his mortar team. His mortar. So he's not completely out of the dust. Over here, I tried to send forth the engineer squad that survived in order to take the victory point, but I failed because he sent forth a engineer squad with the flamethrower upgrade, so he was able to win that. Right now, my mortars, he's able to take back his mortar, which is good for him, bad for me. And he's doing a tremendous amount of damage to my mortar, and he's completely routed my mortars, while his MG Nest is the only thing left on the bridge. Right now, my flamethrowers are in a battle with his flamethrowers, and it seems like my flamethrowers are actually winning, but if you take a quicker look, it actually is his, because he's able to get into cover, and because he's able to get into cover, he has a tremendous bonus over my units who aren't in cover, and because of that, my units are taking a lot more damage. Maybe minuscule, but still a lot. So I have to retreat, but he has to retreat back as well, so it's a stalemate, essentially. Right now, because of my ally's surviving MG units, he's able to kill that conscript squad, no problem, and his mortar team is actually doing a fair amount of damage. Our opponents are actually secured on this western part of the bridge because he has a heavy machine gun over here blocking away the center. Well, not the center, but actually this entire part of the bridge. Yeah, the center, actually. What am I saying? And he also has a machine gun over here covering his flank, so he's protected this mortar team very well. He's right now impossible to really attack. And so far, I've built 2 Panzer Grenadiers, and I sent forth one of them to try and take the Sovereign victory point. And right now, he's sending it. My opponent, Hellduke, is sending in a Penal Battalion in order to stop me. Right now, I'm going to throw a bandolier in order to weaken him up, and it did no damage, but I have to run away from his grenade as it does a ton more damage, as you can see right now, but it has a longer cooldown, which means I can run away from it and survive. And because I have Panzer Grenadiers and he has Panel Battalion units, that means my units do a ton more damage and are a lot more durable at close range and long range, which means I'm going to melt these guys away. Now the problem is that my opponent was able to kill my allies' MG nest and my mortar team, which makes him basically own this entire area over here, regardless of the fact that he doesn't actually own it, because he doesn't have, you know, control over this. Now my ally did the smart move of actually building a half-track with a flamethrower upgrade, which means he'll be able to destroy and barbecue these infantry units. Right now my opponent is actually building, well, has built a scout car, and he's going to use the scout car to actually push back my Panzer Grenadier over here, which could potentially allow him to steal the victory point. So anyway, my opponent is trying to move forward with a conscript squad, and I think my ally says it's a good time to actually push forward and use his own half-track in order to kill all these units. So right now, he's going to use this half-track to just barbecue these guys away, doing a good amount of damage to the conscript squad, making him rout, and routing the MG squad as well. In fact, Maxim machine gun squad as well. What am I saying? He's also routing the mortar squad, and indeed, yes, he does kill the Maxim machine gun unit, which is really good for him.
Standing by.
He also built an anti-tank gun, which will allow him to destroy any of our opponent's scout cars if they ever do a little sneaky attack or drive-by. So anyway, I build my own scout car, and I'm going to upgrade my scout car with the autocannon upgrade, just in case of any of my opponent's scout car shenanigans get a little bit too hectic. Right now, we're trying to secure this part of the map as we suspect our enemy to actually push forward. And indeed they do. They're pushing forward with a scout car and 2 conscript squads, which are more than enough units to actually try and destroy this entire defense over here. But the Panzer Grenadiers are way too powerful to actually take too much damage from them. So right now the scout car is going to move up. He's going to focus on the MG squad a lot. Now, the small arms fire that the Panzer Grenadier is actually causing to the scout car is a little bit, but over a continuous amount of time, it will actually add up a lot. And he is able to destroy the MG team fairly easily, but because of my scout car's autocannon upgrade, I'm just able to destroy his own scout car. And with the combination of my mortar teams, flamethrower units, and Panzer Grenadiers, we're just able to destroy 2 of his infantry units, which is really good. My ally is currently trying to flush out the remaining pink Soviet Union units over here. He already routed a conscript squad over here, and he's now personally barbecuing a MG team to dust. In fact, not even to dust, to hamburger. So now that MG team is hamburger. So all the pink Soviet player has left on the battlefield is actually a mortar team, which is really bad. I'm right now going down south for the winter and trying to secure as many resources as I can so that I can build tanks, upgrade my units to better weapons and such, and potentially own the game with my massive amount of resource advantage. So right now, actually, my ally is in a pretty good position and has completely secured this area of the map. He's actually routed another mortar squad, well, the same mortar squad that was on the field, which basically has damaged my opponent's overall ability to fight back against my allies' forces over here. So I send out a recon plane in order to try and scout out and see what's going on in the battlefield, see what's being planned by my opponent, and sure enough, I knew that he was going to attack me, so I'm sending forth my MG42 squad over here to try and stop this infantry advance, and my scout car is in position to fight off against any of his units. What I don't know, or what I actually find out right now, is that he actually has a light tank, which can actually destroy my scout car, but if the light tank doesn't focus on my scout car and instead focuses on the MG42 like a dumbass, then my scout car will be able to fire upon the T-70 and destroy it. And sure enough, it's doing a ton of continuous damage to that scout car, actually. As you can see, the T-70 is taking too much damage. It really can't afford this much damage. So right now, the MG42 is doing a good job at distracting and suppressing the enemy units. And right now, actually the MG42 would have survived that had it not been for this lucky grenade by the Pino Battalion. So right now I throw a grenade from my Panzer Grenadiers, and we're going to do a massive amount of damage to the rest of these infantry units. About 2 of them, in fact. And I have to actually retreat back my 2 engineer squads because I'm a dumbass, and I literally moved them into the Molotov cocktail. So yeah, we're able to actually push back 2 more infantry units, which is really good for us and a really great victory for us. They're also fairly damaged, so they can't come back easily. And we're also able to destroy another scout car, which has the autocannon upgrade, which is pretty damn good, as we're able to destroy another vehicle from the pink Soviet player, which is excellent. Anyway, so he's sending forth 2 engineer squads to try and kill my Panzer Grenadier, and he almost succeeds, but I rush back my Panzer Grenadier in time. Now, here's a really idiotic thing from me. Guards rifle infantry actually counters scout cars really effectively, as they have long range and their PTRS does a good amount of damage, but I should have actually micromanaged with my scout car. Instead, I did a weird, awkward turn where it actually brought it closer to the guards rifle infantry and potentially to its death right now. So yeah, that was my bad. And now these 2 combat engineers are actually retreating back. I'm guessing because of the MG nest and also because of the mortar squads over here. Right now, there's a lot of defenses going around in the center of the map. We have 2 MG nests. We have, well, it's not an MG nest, but I call it an MG nest because they're set up. We have 2 MG squads over here. We have a anti-tank gun. We have Panzer Grenadiers upgrade with Panzer Shreks, Grenadiers half-track with flamethrowers, and 2 mortars. So this is very hard to crush. I also have 4 Panzer Grenadiers on the field, and if I heal them all up at once and push them out, they're just too potent for any army to handle. Right now, my opponent has he has a lot of combat engineers. He has a lot of, let's see, conscript infantry. But that's about it, really. He doesn't have a lot of indirect fire units like the mortars. He only has 1. He doesn't have a lot of tanks and heavy tanks, I mean, not T-70s that can be destroyed by 1 anti-tank gun shell. And honestly, he's not really utilizing his forces to the best of his ability. In fact, if we can see from his resources, he's not really using his... In fact, yeah, it's actually Welsh-Dragon. Welsh-Dragon is not using his resources effectively enough. I don't know what he's doing. His ally Hellduke is doing a good amount of damage. You know, he has the HM38 120 mortar squad, which is weird because he hasn't actually built one. So I don't know why he hasn't used built any, because those are actually more powerful than my mortars and, you know, these PM41 mortars. He also only built guards rifle infantry and only 1 of them, and he's not actually building anything really. I mean, it's kind of weird. He has 1,500 manpower, a lot of munitions, and a lot of fuel, but what is he saying we get on? An IS-2? A heavy Soviet tank? If he's going to get one, why hasn't he built one already? So, yeah, that's on the they're really losing because of the fault of Welsh-Dragon, as Welsh-Dragon is not even building any good units at all. He's just saving up his money. Well, not his money, but his manpower. And because of that, Hellduke is actually going to suffer because of this. So yeah, I don't want to blame it on one person, as that's wrong, but at the same time, if your ally has a ton of manpower and he's not using it and you're using your manpower, that's potentially his fault. So anyway, right now the victory point difference is massive. They're down by 200. They can still win this, don't get me wrong, but it has to depend on Welsh-Dragon actually building something and Hellduke and Welsh-Dragon cooperating. Like right now, Welsh-Dragon, he hasn't even built shock troopers. He has shock troopers like at his disposal, but he's not building them. So anyway, the Grenadiers did a good amount of damage on the mortar squad and has brought it to 4 units. I mean 4 men, which is pretty good. Right now over here, however, I push back his infantry spam with my Panzer Grenadiers and my combat engineer, and because of 1 Panzer Grenadier grenade, I can retreat back his combat engineer as well as his conscript squad, which is pretty good actually. Those grenades that the Panzer Grenadiers throw are very strong. Not as strong as Pino battalions, don't get me wrong, but they're good enough to rout units. So anyway, he was able to use a fresh conscript squad in order to get a maximum machine gun back to his own command. And so far he has a very potent force over here, but the problem is that, well, he kind of can't stand up to an MG42 and 2 Panzer Grenadiers over here, so he's shit out of luck right now. So right now they're doing a ton of damage. However, I can't advance because he has an MG turret over here, so that's very bad on my part. The pink Soviet player was trying to go forth and destroy some of my allies' units in order to get a cheap kill, but it didn't work out in the end. And the red Soviet player actually tried to flank around and kill the MG42 and my Panzer Grenadiers, and it would have worked, but his grenade actually missed my Panzer Grenadiers, and we were able to drop him by 1 unit, and that is very, very powerful. That just shows how powerful the Panzer Grenadiers are. My ally was also able to send forth a half-track in order to do a good amount of damage to the infantry units. However, he's not really focusing. He killed 1 unit, but he didn't kill these 2 guys, and because of that, he kind of failed, wasted the half-track. My 2 combat infantry, combat engineers over here are using their flame weapons to burn this MG42 unit back to hell, and my Panzer Grenadiers equipped with Panzerschrecks are going to long-range bombard them. So yeah, we're doing right now fairly well. We're using the flamethrower units that I'm using are doing a good amount of damage on his units. The Panzer Grenadiers did a ton of damage to his Guards Rifle Infantry, which was kind of the only thing that stopped me from actually gaining a lot of ground. Like, if he built a lot of Guards Rifle Infantry, he would be able to just snipe my units from across the map. Not like as you know, not as potent as a sniper, but still do a good amount of damage. But yeah, now that I built a Panzerschreck equipped Panzer Grenadier, I can now do a ton of damage to the T-70 without the scout car, which is really good. So right now I have a ton of Panzer Grenadiers in this area, so I'm going to quickly dominate this place. Over here we have my ally sending in a Panzer IV in order to finish off the pink guy, the Welsh player actually. And as you can see right now, this is also the big problem facing the Soviet players. They don't have a lot of good anti-tank weapons, and they're just now actually getting a field gun. So it's just indicative of how far behind they are. I'm trying to actually secure this portion of the map in order to move forward and get the fuel cache over here, just for more fuel and stuff. So I'm going to try and get some lucky snipes off with my Panzerschreck. Unfortunately, he's not firing, which is unfortunate. Ah, there we go. That is indeed unfortunate. So right now, a divisional field gun will push back the Panzer IV, but just by a little bit. And I'm going to retreat back my Panzer Grenadiers because they took a little bit too much damage from the T-70. I'm going to occupy this building as well, but alas, because of the Molotov cocktail, I have to evacuate the building and get evicted from my own property, which sucks, but whatever. And as you can see, a lucky mortar strike would have actually destroyed the combat engineer over there inside, so thank God I actually left. So right now, the enemy that I'm facing down at south is actually trying to do a pretty good effort at pushing me back, but at the same time, it's too little too late as they're down by 43, which means it's impossible for them to actually win this one. My Pioneer actually died, and that was on my own fault since I did a micromanage, but my second one will definitely live. So anyway, right now the pink guy, the Welsh player, is actually doing a fair amount of damage against my ally. He's using his divisional field guns to bombard my ally constantly over and over again. And he did a good amount of damage to the MG nest. He did a good amount of damage to the half-track. He's doing a good amount of damage to my allies' units in general. But he did a suicidal charge right now, which actually killed off his combat engineer. And will kill off this one if he's not careful. Oh, no, he actually retreated them back, which is really good for him. But still, it's too little too late. He should have done this a while before, and they're now down by 7, so losing is definitely a real thing for them. So as I just told you guys right now, the cooperation between the Welsh Dragon and Hellduke was very poor, as Welsh Dragon had 1,500 manpower, and he's now only used it for field guns to bombard my ally, as well as an assault gun to bombard him. Now these units would have been very, very, very good at countering my allies' entrenchment, since the field guns and the assault guns have more range than mortars, but at the same time, it's too little, way too late. Way, way too late. And I think he might have been if I wasn't mistaken, I would have thought that he was AFK for most of the game. So anyway, Hellduke did a fair amount of damage, but he should have tanked up to tanks. If he had a tank, maybe I don't know, a T-34 or so, like what his, what is it? What is it? What is that ability? His, yeah, his command point, the T-34 medium tank. If he actually went along and built that, maybe he would have been in a way better situation. Actually, no, wait, he was building that, in fact, so he just had to wait just a little bit. Actually, no, wait, he was building a T-70. I don't know why. I don't know why he actually built T-70s, as T-70s are really, they're really good early game, but this is definitely not the early game. And versing off against Panzer Grenadiers, yeah, you're just gonna get fucked. So yeah, I think that was the fault between the Soviet players, and the only faults that me and my ally made were that we didn't. Well, if this match went in the Soviet players' favor and we were still doing the same strats, what mistake I would have made was I built too many Panzer Grenadiers, and the Soviet players could have capitalized on it and built some massive anti-infantry, well, weapons. Maybe something like, I don't know, a flamethrower tank, or maybe like heavy fucking tanks that could have like annihilated my Panzer Grenadiers, which would make any attempt to ever use their Panzerschrecks completely worthless. And in fact, as you can see, the Welsh Dragon has actually gained access to the heavy flamethrower tank, which would have been a complete massive counter to my Panzer Grenadier spam, as I was relying upon infantry a lot. But anyway, that's the game for you. If you like and enjoy these type of games, please feel free to like. If you like Company of Heroes 2, please like. If you like more videos like this, subscribe. I'm going to do a lot of Company of Heroes 2 footage, as well as Planetary Annihilation, Civilization 5, all that good stuff. And that's about it. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. And if you have any constructive comments, please comment below. If you want to just call me a small dick asshole, you could do that too.